Have you ever wondered about the man who presided over the trial and crucifixion of Jesus Christ? Who was Pontius Pilate? Pontius Pilate was more than just a name etched into the annals of history. He was the governor or prefect of Judea from 26 to 36 CE during the peak of the Roman Empire, which spanned across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Yet despite this vast empire, little is known about those tasked with governing its distant outposts, making Pilate an enigmatic figure. Historically, the term prefect or praefectus in Latin alludes to a military background. This suggests that Pilate's role was to maintain order and repress dissent in Judea, a contentious province under Roman rule. It is inferred that individuals like Pilate, who hailed from lesser noble families, were chosen for their battlefield prowess rather than their diplomatic or administrative skills. Consequently, Pilate's tenure in Judea was marked by a focus on security rather than administration, with the latter being largely delegated to local religious authorities like the Pharisees and Sadducees. Philo and Josephus of Alexandria, renowned historians of the time, paint a portrait of Pilate as an impulsive and ill-prepared ruler. Their accounts shed light on Pilate's struggle with the complexities of governing Judea, a province simmering with tension and discontent. The family names Pontius and Pilatus potentially hint at their origin, perhaps from the kingdom of Pontus, or a connection to javelin throwers, as Pilate translates to spear. Unfortunately, Pilate's first name remains unknown, a testament to the historical gaps that further shroud this figure in mystery. Pontius Pilate's military background likely meant he lacked extensive training in diplomacy or governance, which may not have been deemed essential for overseeing a relatively insignificant territory like Judea. His primary concern was maintaining national security, while the day-to-day administration was largely entrusted to the chief priests in Jerusalem. Pontius Pilate, the man behind the title, remains largely shrouded in mystery. Despite his pivotal role in one of history's most significant events, we still have much to discover about this enigmatic figure. Imagine arriving in a region that had only recently come under direct Roman control. This was the reality for Pontius Pilate. As he disembarked onto the shores of Judea, his military background primed him for the challenges that lay ahead. The air was thick with tension as the local population grappled with their new rulers. Pilate, armed with his title of prefect, was tasked with the daunting responsibility of maintaining control and enforcing Roman law in this newly occupied territory. Judea was a land of complexity and contradiction, a place where ancient traditions and cultures clashed with the imposing might of the Roman Empire. The political climate was volatile, a tinderbox ready to ignite at the slightest provocation. Pilate found himself stepping into a dance of diplomacy and force, a balancing act that would test his mettle as a leader. Pilate's primary objective was clear: maintain control over the local population and enforce Roman law and order in the region. This was no easy task. Judea was a contentious province, a region fraught with political unrest and religious fervour. The Pharisees and Sadducees, local religious authorities, held significant sway over the populace, and Pilate had to navigate these delicate power structures while asserting Roman dominance. His strategy was one of delegation and control. He focused on matters of security, using his military prowess to maintain order and repress any signs of dissent. The day-to-day administration was largely entrusted to the Pharisees and Sadducees. This approach allowed him to keep a firm grip on the reins of power, while also fostering a sense of autonomy among the local leaders. However, Pilate's rule was not without its challenges. His lack of diplomatic experience often led to rash decisions and impulsive actions, further fueling the discontent among the local population. Yet despite these hurdles, he persevered, determined to fulfill his duty as the Roman prefect of Judea. Pilate's military prowess was put to the test in the contentious province of Judea. His tenure was a testament to the complexities of governing a distant outpost during the peak of the Roman Empire, a role that etched his name into the annals of history. What can we infer about Pilate, the man, from his military title and family name? Pontius Pilate, a name known by many, but what about the man behind the title? His title, Praefectus, or prefect, was a military one, hinting at his origins. The name Pontius Pilate suggests a lineage to the kingdom of Pontus, a region in modern-day Turkey. The name Pilate translating to spear in Latin, could potentially indicate a connection to javelin throwers, a vital component of Roman military strategy. Pilate's role as a prefect was not merely about governing, it was about maintaining control and order. His military background, though, might have been a double-edged sword. On one hand, it equipped him with the skills to maintain order in Judea, a region that had only recently come under direct Roman control. On the other hand, his military training might not have fully prepared him for the complex task of governing a contentious province. Historians speculate that Pilate, like other prefects, hailed from a lesser noble family, selected for their military prowess rather than their diplomatic or administrative skills. This background could explain why Pilate delegated much of his administrative duties to local religious authorities, focusing primarily on matters of security. The man, Pontius Pilate, was thus a soldier thrust into a role that required a delicate balance of diplomacy and force. A man who might have been more comfortable on the battlefield than in the intricate world of politics and governance. Unfortunately, the historical record is sparse, and much of Pilate's personal history remains shrouded in mystery. The responsibilities thrust upon Pilate, combined with his military background, created unique challenges in his role as prefect. These challenges would shape his governance and ultimately his place in history. Pilate's military background and the responsibilities thrust upon him created a unique set of challenges in his role as prefect. Over the course of his 10-year term, Pilate would face these challenges head-on, leaving behind a legacy that continues to intrigue historians to this day. One of the most significant events during Pilate's tenure was undoubtedly the trial of Jesus. But how did it unfold? The trial of Jesus is a tale told somewhat differently across the 4 New Testament Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. However, a common thread runs through them all, the apparent reluctance of Pontius Pilate to condemn Jesus. In the Gospel of Matthew, Pilate is depicted as a man torn between his own judgment and the pressure from the crowd. He's portrayed as fully aware of the innocence of Jesus and yet, unable to withstand the demands of the crowd, orders his crucifixion. Mark's Gospel echoes this narrative, with Pilate asking the crowd what crime Jesus has committed, only to be met with cries for his execution. Here again, Pilate succumbs to the crowd's demands despite his personal reservations. Luke's Gospel takes us through a similar narrative, but with an extra layer of Pilate's reluctance. Here, Pilate declares, "I find nothing wrong with this man." Yet faced with an enraged crowd, he sends Jesus to King Herod, hoping to avoid making the decision himself. Finally, in the Gospel of John, Pilate is depicted as a man desperately trying to avoid involvement. He urges Caiaphas, the chief priest, to judge Jesus by Jewish law. Yet he is forced to take action when Jewish leaders insist they lack the authority to execute Jesus. In all these accounts, Pilate is shown trying to absolve himself of responsibility. He offers the crowd a choice between releasing Jesus, whom he deems innocent, and Barabbas, a known murderer. The crowd demands Barabbas' release and insists on Jesus' crucifixion. Pilate, symbolically washing his hands, orders Jesus' execution. Despite his reservations, Pontius Pilate ultimately ordered the execution of Jesus. So, was Pilate a saint, innocent of Jesus' crucifixion? The New Testament doesn't offer the final perspective on Pilate. Early Christian writings outside the Bible, known as the Apocrypha, circulated widely in the first centuries of Christianity and present varying views of Pilate, some even portraying him as a believer. One such text, the Gospel of Nicodemus, likely composed in the 4th century CE, claims to provide an eyewitness account of Jesus' trial by Nicodemus, a sympathetic Pharisee. In this narrative, Roman soldiers honor Jesus, and Pilate expresses frustration with the Jewish leaders for pressuring him to crucify a righteous man. Subsequent writings, such as the Letters of Herod and Pilate, claim to feature genuine correspondence between Pilate and Herod Antipas, the ruler of Galilee, regarding Jesus' trial. In one letter, Pilate and his wife purportedly encounter the resurrected Jesus, acknowledge him as the Son of God, and seek forgiveness for their transgressions. While these texts are regarded as far-fetched by scholars, they portray Pilate as a penitent sinner who embraced Jesus as his saviour. Interestingly, certain Christian traditions like the Ethiopian Church elevate Pilate and his wife Procla to the status of saints. Pontius Pilate, a man of military background thrown into a contentious province, left an indelible mark on history. Pilate's role in the crucifixion of Jesus Christ has forever shaped how he is remembered. This single event has cast a long shadow, obscuring other aspects of his tenure as Judea's prefect. In the Christian tradition, Pilate is seen as a weak and indecisive figure, pressured into condemning an innocent man. His symbolic washing of hands, an act of absolution, is a potent illustration of this perception. Yet, it's essential to remember that these accounts are largely based on the 4 New Testament Gospels, each with its own interpretation of the events. Meanwhile, in the Jewish tradition, Pilate is often portrayed as a harsh and cruel ruler. The Jewish historian Josephus paints Pilate as an unyielding prefect, indifferent to Jewish customs and quick to suppress dissent. This narrative contrasts sharply with the more sympathetic portrayal in the Christian Gospels. Even within the Roman Empire, Pilate's reputation was anything but flattering. His contemporaries viewed him as an inept administrator, ill-equipped to manage the complexities of his province. After Judea, where did Pilate go? After his tenure in Judea, Pilate's fate remains shrouded in mystery. According to historical accounts from Josephus, Pilate faced another tumultuous situation involving a self-proclaimed Messiah in 36 CE. This time, a Samaritan leader declared himself to be a reincarnation of Moses and led his followers to Mount Gerizim, promising miraculous discoveries. Pilate responded swiftly, deploying cavalry to quell the uprising, resulting in numerous casualties and the execution of the rebellion's leaders. The Samaritans, outraged by Pilate's brutal actions, lodged complaints with the legate of Syria, prompting orders for Pilate to return to Rome and present his case to Emperor Tiberius. However, before Pilate could reach Rome, Tiberius passed away and Caligula assumed the throne. The details of Pilate's subsequent hearing and fate remain uncertain, leading to speculation about his retirement or removal from office. Legends surrounding Pilate's later years abound, with some claiming he was banished from Rome and met his demise in Vienna, Austria. In contrast, others suggest his final resting place was on Mount Pilatus near Lucerne, Switzerland. These tales, though intriguing, are largely apocryphal and contribute to the enigmatic legacy of Pontius Pilate. Regardless of one's faith or belief, there's no denying that this event has profoundly influenced the course of human history. Pilate, willingly or not, played a pivotal role in this. In terms of legacy, Pilate's name is etched into history, primarily for his role in one of the most significant events in Christian history. However, beyond the biblical accounts, historical records paint him as an ill-prepared and impulsive ruler, a man grappling with the complexities of governing a volatile province. Pontius Pilate, a figure shrouded in mystery, continues to captivate historians and the public alike, centuries after his death. If you have other research work or information you want to share about this video, leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos. Until next time, remain curious.